Poland fleshed out details of the East Shield, a $2.55 billion program to beef up defences along its eastern border with Belarus and Russia, saying it hoped to complete the plans by 2028. The border has been a flashpoint since migrants started flocking there in 2021 after Belarus, a close Russian ally, opened travel agencies in the Middle East offering a new unofficial route into Europe, a move the European Union said was designed to create a crisis. The Polish Defence Ministry presented details of the program, including plans to build fortification, hubs and telecommunication systems in coordination with other Eastern Frontline NATO allies, Finland, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Defence Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz said this was the largest operation to strengthen Poland's eastern border since 1945. That's why we need a long-term infrastructure plan which would include fortifications, different types of barriers, but also, or maybe most of all, state-of-the-art systems to monitor the airspace at any parameter, at any height. We will use the drone component. We will use unmanned vehicles and anti-drone systems, which are more and more developed, efficient, and they will be put to use. Deputy Defence Minister Cezary Tomczyk said some of the planning works would start this year, with investment starting in the first quarter of 2025, and were expected to be completed by 2028. Poland hopes to tap EU funds for some of the projects. We want this project to start immediately. It will start this year. The planning is still in progress. Mr. General will talk about it later. We want this project to be completed by 2028. The estimated cost is 10 billion zloty, and this is only the material cost. It is also very important. It is a huge investment in our country's scale, but also on NATO's scale. It is an initial safety buffer, which is very important to all of us. We want it to be covered by the means from our country's budget, but also from European sources. Poland's previous government built a fence on the Polish-Belarusian border that is more than 180 kilometers long and 5.5 meters tall to protect against illegal migration. It is complemented by a system of cameras and sensors monitoring the frontier. At the time, the project was highly criticised by some people who now endorse strengthening the border. This is not the Law and Justice Conference of 3 years ago when Lukashenko launched a hybrid attack on Poland. We will always defend every centimetre of the territory of Poland and the inviolability of our borders. This is a press conference of the government of Donald Tusk. Costs are secondary when it comes to our security. We must do everything to ensure that the border is fully secured. This is a 180-degree about turn, because 3 years ago the entire civic platform voted against the construction of the fence, citing, among other things, the large costs. We will not support them in such, to put it mildly, ambiguous undertakings. They are making a terrible spectacle, a terrible hunt for these children and mothers. They are going to build a wall and a fence and another wall, and even better, they are going to connect electricity to it. Now the platform is trying to convince Poles that it has always been in favour of building the border wall by putting posters like this online. You voted against the wall, and you can see that unfortunately it is not tight. People are opening it with levers. We were in favour of sealing the border, which we are always on behalf of the civic platform in the matter of state of emergency and in the matter of sealing the border, and my opinion on this matter is the same. The border must be sealed. Such is the narrative, but facts say that civic platform voted against the border wall construction. The reasoning, or simply the deviousness of the PO politicians, is perfectly demonstrated by the change in Donald Tusk's narrative. Now illegal immigrants are deemed dangerous, aggressive, not excused as poor people. The pressure on Poland's eastern border is not a spontaneous migration of people fleeing from different countries. At the moment, these precise data are very disturbing. Over 90% of those who cross the Polish border illegally are people with Russian visas. When Tusk wanted to attack the Law and Justice government, then, playing with the safety of Poles, he said this about illegal migrants. And if these people had declared war on us, these poor people looking for their place on earth, and there is no need to make such disgusting dark propaganda against immigrants, because these are people who need help. Just let these people into Poland. We will find out later who they are. What do you have services for? When it comes to people at the border, are they just seeking help or not? They are different people. They are people who were instrumentalized by Putin's regime and Lukashenko's regime. They are sent to the Polish border, and there are certainly different people there. There are people who use aggression against Polish officers. While in opposition, one can say all sorts of stupid things, but you also have to take responsibility for them, and you can't act like they did back then, because it was detrimental to Poland's security. Back then, the barrier and the construction of the barrier was something crucial, and we had crazy people who were against it, both in the same and during the construction. Unfortunately, these are the facts. There were fights with soldiers and officers defending the border. These people are so tired they don't even want to eat or drink because they have nowhere to go. That insults the defenders of our border. It is terrible that this happened on the Polish border or in front of the border, because it is no man's land. People who need help and a doctor are not allowed to get to them. Personally, I think that if there is a need for politicians to show up at the border, they should definitely do it. There is no need for that now? I do not know. Are there still pushbacks? Apparently not. Thank you very much. Goodbye. 3 years ago, the opposition was joined by the mainstream media with their false stories and fantasies. The Belarusians pushed him into the river and he swam for 6 days. It was last week. He swam for 6 days during the day in this icy water, and at night he went ashore wet and frozen. He lay down on the bare ground. He didn't light a fire because he was afraid someone would see him. It's a pack of dogs that cornered poor people. That's not what soldiers do. They're just rubbish.